Planet Vero Studio is powered by the Nolan Group of eXp Realty.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm David Yakir.
And I'm Susan Keller-Horn.
And you're listening to Yak About Today in Film, where you never know how the movie ends. So get up, put your headphones on, go for a run, but listen to what we yak about today. Hey, thanks for listening. I am David Yakir here with Susan Keller-Horn, and we are back after a little time off.
Yes.
And Susan's been on vacation.
I've been all over the place. Time with one of our exchange students' families, and then we just traveled all the way around, and definitely go to Ireland. You will love it. So that's all I can say.
and we're all going immediately. You know, we don't all get to vacation like you do, Susan.
No, it's true. But I made that a goal in my life, that I get to travel. So.
Anyway, you know what I do? I thought we'd talk a little about the next year at the film festival. We're first starting to plan it now. And we're going to expand the film festival, hopefully to a year-round program. So all of you that are listening today, get ready for an email from us that'll explain exactly our plans for the year. And
Wait a minute, David. In order for them to get an email from us, we have to have their email address. So where can they send their email address so that they can get an email address from us?
You are so clever, Susan. Sometimes.
I know, it's amazing. It's a good thing you have me in your life.
I know. I'd just be standing here going, oh, we're sending you an email to nobody.
Now, we have a few emails, but we don't have everybody's emails. So please
we do.
Get on our newsletter list.
So if you'd like to get on our newsletter list, write to info@vbfilmfest.org. That's info@vbfilmfest.org. And the VB is Vero Beach, so if you think I'm saying BB, I'm really saying VB. vbfilmfest.org. Write to us. We'll put you on the newsletter list, and then you'll be up to date on everything we're trying to do.
And people can like us on Facebook, and they can like us on Twitter and on, all that stuff.
Yeah. And we're pretty likable, I guess.
Or we're a little bit nuts, and people might want to run away from us, but that's okay.
All right. Susan, announce our guest.
Our guest is Chris Sexton Fletcher. And he has been a filmmaker at our festival, but he is also a professor of film at the State College of Florida. Am I saying that right, Chris? Yes, State College of Florida. It's over in Bradenton, Florida.
Hey, welcome, Chris.
Hey, it's great to be here. It's good to see you both.
Yeah, I think there's a little delay. I'm not sure if there's a little delay, but anyway, it's so great having you on. You were a great guest the first time, and of course, your contribution to the festival was amazing with The Punishment. And I think you have other things coming soon?
You mentioned a project,
I'm actually working in post-production now on a project that I wrote with my co-writer, Bethany Fletcher. So she's my spouse and my producer and my co-writer. And we're working on Sharps, which is basically it's a horror film if you have a needle phobia, and it's a dark comedy for everyone else. And it's about a woman who finds $300 in a medical sharps disposal container and decides that she needs to get that money out. So, yes. So it's thrilling and horrible and wonderful all at the same time. And we're in post-production, and it's coming together real nicely. So we're working on that.
Is that a short or a feature length?
It's a short. It'll probably be about 7 minutes long. So it's like in the sweet spot. And one of the great things about working at a college where I'm teaching film is I actually get to work with former students and current students on these projects. And so I was able to kind of help professionalize my students a little bit, because we run a tight ship, and we actually had an actress who is part of the Screen Actors Guild, so we had to run a tighter ship than usual. So it's great to be able to take the education side and the personal filmmaking artistic side and kind of marry them together.
Will you have the film ready for us?
Well, I certainly hope so. The goal is to get it ready by Halloween.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know, when is your submission deadline for the Vero Beach Film Festival?
We're not till March or April?
April.
April.
Oh,
It's
okay.
April. So,
Okay.
but we will be
Then-
starting accepting submissions no later than October 1st. We'll probably start a little bit sooner than that. So if you're
Excellent.
a filmmaker watching, submissions should open up for the Vero Beach Film Festival by October 1st, but keep an eye out for us. And if you've been a past filmmaker, I will be sending you a little code to give you a discount. So thank you.
Excellent. And I can highly recommend the festival to anyone who is watching who maybe even hasn't made a film yet. Go make a film. Get in the film festival. It's a really great place to show your film, and it's got great audiences. Some of the best audiences that we've had for The Punishment were at that festival. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
You know, it's a great lead-in to some of the questions I have, Chris. So many filmmakers came up to us and said, you know, the best part of the festivals are when we get together and when we all learn from one another and talk about our techniques. And it was interesting because when we did our post-mortem and some of the and some of you filmmakers talked to us, they said, can we just sort of do more of that? Can we do more of the panel discussions? Possibly, would you be interested in developing workshops? And, you know, the obvious conversations that we're having are with sort of universities that have filmmaking programs. And, you know, I really want to talk to you because there were so many learnings that new filmmakers need to have that people like you could offer a lot of advice. And so tell us a little about the programs itself at the university.
Yeah. So, so at the State College of Florida, the full title is State College of Florida.
State College of
Manatee,
Florida.
Sarasota.
Not Florida
Yep.
State.
Nope. Yeah. So we serve, it's a 2-year program. It's a state college. So we serve the Manatee and Sarasota counties, but you know, students will come from all over Florida, and we've had international students. And so it's a really great place for students to be able to learn like just the basics, like to get their feet wet. Like a lot of our students are familiar with the way video works. You know, they have a phone, they shoot videos, they're on social media, and they just want to know, how do I do this for a living, or how do I get better at this? And so our program is a 2-year program, as I've said, and it's what's considered a workforce degree. And so a lot of what I'm trying to do with the students is to say, we're going to help you with your video production skills that'll allow you to get jobs doing things that maybe you're not imagining yourself doing right now. Like, I don't think any student goes to a film school and says, I want to do, aerial videography for real estate. But it is a way to pay the bills and to work on your craft. So a lot of what we're doing is saying, you've come to us because the way we're set up is like a little film school, and not just like a video production place, but film school. We say, you come to us and you want to be a director and you want to tell stories. You get to do that, but we're also going to work on your technique. And we're also just going to introduce you to people who work in the local industry. And, you know, we're not in the middle of a production hub. Tampa is starting to pick up a little bit with some Hallmark films. But where we are, we've got a lot of people that do video production. So what we wind up doing is getting students involved in internships so that they can get more practical experience. They might be able to get jobs after graduation. So what we try to do is just nurture the students' aspirations to be artists, and to say, you are an artist. You go out and make a film. You're making your art and you're working on it, but also we're working on the technical side and the professionalization skills to be able to go out and get a job. So
you're sort of telling them that directing isn't the only aspect of filmmaking. You know, there are expertise in every, you know, surrounding the actual filmmaking, from editing to producing to doing all those things that are involved in filmmaking.
Exactly. I'm teaching a class right now that's called Film Crew Workshop, and it's basically like, sorry for the overlap, but I'm teaching film crew workshop, which is basically here's all the different roles that are possible on a movie set. There's all these credits that go by for hours after a movie's over. Do you actually need all those people? Well, the answer is like, no, you don't have to have them. But I think once you are in the middle of a shoot that you've put everything together yourself, and you realize that somebody has to go, let the actor into the building where you're shooting, but you're trying to like set up because you're producing and you're also the cinematographer. You wind up going, oh, that's what a location manager does. They're like in charge of the location and like access to that location and like getting forms signed by the people who own the location. And if you're trying to direct and produce and set up all the lights and, get the food in and all those things at the same time, you go, wow, I need more people. So the class is very much like, who are these other people? And you get to try on these different roles. So then when you're on a set, maybe you're a production assistant on a professional set, you have a better sense of what's going on. You're not getting in the way and you're able to be more helpful. So that's kind of the idea.
It reminds me of a time, when I was in theater in college. I remember the first discussion we had where the professor came up and said, so all of you want to be actors. Chances are none of you are going to become actors, right? But there are other things in this profession that may be of interest to you. And I'm gathering you elevate the importance of those other things.
Yes, definitely.
So, why would somebody go to film school? What makes it worth going to film school?
That is a really great question, Susan.
Where did that question come from?
Yeah, it's a great question. No, it's a question that I wish more of my students would actually ask me. And so I'm the one who kind of broaches the subject, like, why are you here? Why are you? So if I say, what is it that you want to do? Well, I want to direct. Okay. Well, why aren't you directing yet? Because the only real way to direct is to direct. It's one of those things where how do you get the experience if you don't have if you need the job, if you need experience to get the job, how do you get the experience without having the job? And there's no real way on a film set to work your way up to director. There's no pathway. So I usually say a trust fund. That's how you become a director. But you need time to like make movies and get bills paid. And I just saw an article online where somebody had a short that they spent 8 years doing back-to-back medical studies and living out of a car so they could make like a 10-minute short. And it's like, that's not a life. So what I try to talk to my students about is like, if you want to be in the film industry, I tell them you should quit school right now and go move to Hollywood. And don't tell anybody I told you that. And they look at me like, well, I'm not doing that, obviously. And I go, you're obviously not doing that. You may be thinking that. This is not where you are in your life. And maybe your parents, because I have a lot of students that are right out of high school, maybe your parents don't want you to do that, but you know the direction that you'd like to go in. And the reason that you're in film school is because you're gonna learn a lot more quickly things that if you were by yourself making films. With each film, you learn a little bit, but being kind of forced to the paces of making lots of different films and trying lots of different things, you'll learn a lot. And you're just in a hub where there's local people who are interested in making films as well. And if you're doing a 2-year program like ours, the cost of that program is much less expensive than a 4-year film degree. And you're not spending 4 years out of the workforce. You're spending 2 years and then you're going directly into the workforce. So you're not somebody who's like spent 4 years kind of, getting all these extra classes that perhaps if you get to a film set, they go, well, we don't want you to know all this stuff. We want to train you ourselves. So there's always this idea of like, do you need to go to film school or should you just go on a film set? The answer is, well, you have to make films one way or the other. And so we provide kind of a structure for making films for people who are starting out.
Hey, Chris, explain to me Hollywood these days, because most film production is done, Atlanta, Vancouver. What happens in Hollywood these days that a filmmaker would automatically just go to Hollywood?
Well, I would say there's still tons of production going on all the time at levels that most people aren't aware of, because when they think Hollywood, they think blockbuster. But what's going on out in California is like people are making everything, content, lots and lots of content. You know, they're making reality shows. And so I've met people who are like, I just burned out being editors of reality shows. You know, they went to Hollywood, they want to be an artist, and they get a job, and then that's their job. So a lot of what is going on there is, and that's not to say, oh, you shouldn't, you know, if that's what your job is, that's a bad job. But a lot of people, they don't go into it for that. But what's going on in Hollywood is like the studios are there. It is still the place to go and to network and to be seen. And if you're a screenwriter, have lots of meetings with people about your stories. So Hollywood is still that sort of that hub that things like still go through, even though the production is happening in Vancouver. So oftentimes what happens is if you are somebody who like works in Hollywood and you're working on films, you go up to Vancouver, but the people who are above the line, so like the producers and the directors and the screenwriter and all the jobs that people want to have when they're looking from the outside, they are all coming from the industry down here or down in the States. And then the people who are below the line, so the technicians and the crew and the people that make it happen, a lot of them are in the location where they are filming. So a lot of what Hollywood is doing is providing the brain trust.
So you are both a filmmaker and a professor. What is something you wish somebody had told you before you became a filmmaker? What advice do you wish you had been given?
You know, it's a little paradoxical, but I wish somebody had told me before each of my films that it wasn't going to be the last one I made, so I didn't have to be as precious as I was being about it. There's always a sense in which you're making a film, you want it to be the best thing possible, and you just have a lot of anxiety over the things that are going wrong, because things, you know, filmmaking is sort of like problem solving, creative problem solving all the time, constantly. And so you run into challenges and you try to surmount them. And there's always this sense in which like things are always going to be out of control at some point. And then it's to be able to get it back in under control is a lot of what a filmmaker is doing. We're just kind of keeping it at that level of like chaos and control. And I wish somebody would have been able to tell me, you'll make more films. And so I think before each of my films that I make, I have to remind myself, each one is a learning process. And each one is not going to be the last one. I'm going to make another one. So let's figure out what this film is about. What's the story? How am I going to stretch myself as a filmmaker with this film? And not get so wrapped up in the idea of like, this must be perfect.
So what is, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Go ahead.
Is some imperfection that you like go, well, why, I shouldn't have done that? Or why did I go crazy about that? What would be an example of that?
Let me think. I don't know. Like during post-production now on Sharps, there have been moments where I'm like, I have to get, in the story, well, I don't think it's going to be giving much away to say someone sticks their hand inside of a needle disposal container in a public restroom. And so during the shoot, we got all the outside of that box, and then during pickups, we're doing like interior shots, and I've been obsessed with having to get specific shots of inside the container with needles moving around and the person's hand in there. And I've spent hours and hours and hours on it and doing tests, and then finally going, actually, I don't need this. Actually, I probably need something much simpler. And it just came to me. It was like, I'll try this. And then I was like, oh, that's it. So I still kind of needed to do what I was doing, but I didn't need to be as obsessive and like stressed out about it, because in the end, I wound up going with a simpler method. So, you know, that's one of those things that it just, you spend a lot of time. And with the punishment, I had a whole shooting day where I had to get something exactly right. And then we just decided that scene wasn't in the film. Like, how are you going to know that until you're editing? So I think kind of holding things loosely and making sure that you're not being annoying and to everyone around you who's collaborating with you. Don't be a jerk over stuff, because you're just not sure what's going to make it into the film anyway. So, yeah.
I have a strange question here. You were trained overseas in Edinburgh, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. What's the difference in psychology there about filmmaking that's different than here? What did you sense when you were trained over there? Here, we always have this star power thing, star power.
Yeah.
Is there a difference over there?
That is a really interesting question.
I didn't mean to trap you.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I have to answer this politically, right?
And you got 2 minutes.
Okay. I think one of the things is, like, the UK is known for really good TV, right? And so there's a lot of what's going on with the filmmaking that feels like televisual. But the way I was being trained by the specifically by the person running my MFA, it was very one-on-one. He told me not to watch TV. He's like, stop watching television, and you need to be more cinematic with your images. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know what you mean by cinematic versus televisual. But I stopped watching TV basically for a year. I was just watching movies all the time, and in the genres that I wanted to work in. And by the time that was over, I was like, okay, I think I know what he means. And it's not just to do with shot sizes and like how long you hold on things, but there's just a different style with TV versus movies, as cinema versus television. And so I think there is a sense in which philosophically they're more comfortable with, I think, saying like, there's this and there's a right way to do that and there's a right way to do this. And I think in America it's a little bit more like, oh, you could do whatever you want, you can be whatever you want, and you can just mix everything. But it was good to be like, no, I'm only going to think about movies.
All right, for our last question, it's an opinion question. We're thinking about adding episodics to the festival, pilots for TV shows. What's your thought on that? And you've got a minute.
Okay, I think it's a good idea. I think that's what a lot of people are making. And I think having a section of episodics means that when you're watching shorts in a block, at least as a filmmaker, you don't go, oh, wait a second. This is a pilot. This isn't a short film. As I was saying, there's a difference between the two. And so you can, after a while, you feel the difference. But if you know, this is what I'm going in, I'm watching this, then you can have a great Q&A afterward with people that are all sort of like in the same boat. They're trying to make something episodic. They're trying to make a pilot. So I think it's a great idea.
Thanks, Chris. You were great.
So much.
As usual, we can depend on you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
it's great to be here. Thanks.
Great to see you. This is Chris Fletcher, Chris Sexton Fletcher from the State College of Florida.
Did we get that right?
I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah, you did. You totally got it right.
Take care, everybody.
Talk to you later.